Imagine falling in love, driving into the quiet hills outside Florence, believing you're completely alone, but someone is watching, waiting, patiently. For nearly 2 decades, an unknown killer stalked young couples across the Tuscan countryside, leaving behind one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries in criminal history. This is the story of the Monster of Florence, a case filled with fear, failed investigations, and questions that remain unanswered to this day. The story begins in 1968. Near Florence, Italy, a young couple is found murdered inside their car. At first, it appears to be an isolated tragedy, but investigators have no idea. They're witnessing the beginning of one of Europe's longest-running serial murder investigations. Over the next 16 years, the murders continue, again and again. The victims share striking similarities. Young couples, parked in isolated areas, seeking privacy, instead finding death. As investigators examine the crime scenes, a terrifying pattern becomes impossible to ignore. The killer consistently targets couples in secluded locations. The attacks are swift, calculated, and horrifyingly consistent. Many victims are shot with the same type of weapon. Several crime scenes also reveal shocking acts of post-mortem mutilation. This isn't random violence. It's ritualistic, methodical. Word spreads quickly. Young couples become afraid to meet in isolated places. Families worry every weekend. Police increase patrols. Yet the killings continue. The unknown murderer earns a chilling nickname: the Monster of Florence. Italian investigators launch one of the country's largest criminal investigations. Thousands of interviews, hundreds of suspects, forensic analysis, ballistics testing, crime scene reconstruction. But every promising lead eventually collapses. One crucial clue keeps appearing: a .22 caliber pistol. Ballistic evidence suggests the same firearm was used in multiple murders. It becomes the killer's signature. Yet despite this important evidence, the weapon is never recovered. Criminal profilers begin asking difficult questions. Why target couples? Why isolated lovers? Why return to similar locations? Experts suggest the killer may have been driven by obsession, control, sexual violence, or deeply rooted psychological trauma. But without knowing the identity of the murderer, every profile remains a theory. One detail stands out: the monster almost never leaves useful evidence. He chooses remote locations, strikes quickly, escapes before police arrive. It suggests patience, preparation, and familiarity with the countryside. This wasn't someone acting impulsively. As the murders continue, the media turns the monster into a national obsession. Newspapers publish dramatic headlines. Television follows every rumor. Speculation becomes constant. The public demands answers. But sensational coverage also creates confusion. Rumors spread faster than facts. Florence is famous for art, history, architecture, romance. Yet during these years, fear overshadows everything. Couples change their habits. Police face enormous public pressure. Every quiet road suddenly feels dangerous. Over the years, investigators identify numerous suspects. One of the most famous is Pietro Paccioni. He is arrested, convicted, then later acquitted after legal appeals. Other suspects emerge. None provide definitive answers. The investigation grows increasingly complicated. As official leads fail, new theories appear. Some believe there were multiple killers. Others suspect organized crime, secret societies, occult rituals, even corrupt officials. But evidence remains inconclusive. The mystery only deepens. Several factors worked against investigators. Crime scenes stretched across many years. Forensic technology was limited. Important evidence deteriorated. Investigative mistakes complicated the search. And with every passing year, the trail grew colder. Why do cases like this fascinate us? Because our brains crave closure. We want answers, motives, a face behind the evil. An unsolved mystery leaves a gap our minds struggle to accept. And that uncertainty keeps the story alive. The Monster of Florence has inspired books, documentaries, films, podcasts, countless investigations, and decades of debate. It has become one of the defining true crime cases in European history. Not because it was solved, but because it wasn't. For crime writers, this case offers powerful storytelling lessons. Fear grows through uncertainty. Patterns create suspense. Real mysteries rarely provide perfect endings. Psychology often matters more than violence. The unknown can become the greatest villain, because sometimes, the absence of answers is more haunting than the truth itself. What if the Monster of Florence was never caught? What if the killer lived an ordinary life afterward? Walked the same streets, passed strangers every day, carrying one of history's darkest secrets? It's a possibility that's impossible to ignore. The Monster of Florence remains one of the world's greatest unsolved serial murder cases. A haunting reminder that justice isn't always guaranteed. Some mysteries resist explanation, some killers escape history, and sometimes, the most terrifying thing isn't knowing who committed the crime, It's realizing we may never know. If you enjoy true crime, criminal psychology, and the stories behind history's greatest mysteries, subscribe, because the darkest cases aren't always the ones we've solved. They're the ones that still keep investigators and the world awake at night.